I'm just setting up the place here. There might still be some people who are joining us in a bit, who are a bit late, but that's fine. We'll let them through anyway. I am going to put this go live now on Facebook, and then we will start right away. I am Camille. I am the head of content and programs at PressPad. French, but this is not today's subject. And we will instead listen to Lydia, who's got a lot to talk to us about radio and about getting paid work and digital journalism at large. So Lydia, do you want to share your screen? I'll do the rest of the housekeeping.
Yeah. I work how to do this. Share, and then 7. There we go.
Yes, and I will just quickly request if you just let me through.
There you go.
Perfect. So if we here we go. So I will be we've got another attendee joining us. All right. So I will be putting a link for auto subtitles and captions just through. You can activate the subtitles just by using the little button of CC in Zoom. If you don't know how to do that, just message and I will guide you through as soon as Lydia starts talking. As I said, we're going live on Facebook. We will also be live tweeting. We're using the hashtag PressPadRemote and be sharing some of the advice and everything, because what's the point of attending the event otherwise? But I will be sharing some of Lydia's wisdom with others. If you wish to interact or to share your own thoughts, use that hashtag, and I'll make sure that that other people see it. If you've got any questions, just like for activating the subtitles, just put it in the chat box and I'll make sure to get back to you as soon as Lydia started talking. But first, who is Lydia? So Lydia is trained at Nottingham Trent University Centre for Broadcasting and Journalism. She graduated with a first-class degree in 2020, pandemic graduation, and she's now freelancing at Radio News Hub and provides radio news bulletins to over 300 radio stations across the world. To gain experience, Lydia volunteered as a presenter and producer on the Women in Music show and at Gem 106. Is that what you say?
Gem 106.
Yeah, Gem 106. The French coming up. And as a reporter, Lydia will share with you her tips on how to break into the competitive radio sector and how to make the leap from your local volunteer radio to some very needed and wanted paid work. So welcome, Lydia. Thank you so much for volunteering your time with us today for the masterclass. Welcome to whoever just joined and accepted in. I will now let you take over, and I will hide myself and go ahead. This is over to you, Lydia.
Yay! Thanks so much. Yeah, thanks everyone for coming today. I didn't think anyone would get a ticket, so thanks for caring, and thanks for clicking on the button to come and see me chat about life. So yeah, hello, I'm Lydia Greatrix. I'm 22 years old, and at the moment I'm in Leeds. I've literally just moved here last Sunday. But I am originally from North Shropshire, so yeah, any West Midlands crew in, great, thanks. So I'm really awkward about these things. So yeah, basically I just want to kind of talk to you today about how I managed to get my foot in the door in radio and in digital journalism, because it's so damn hard. I worked for free for so long, and if I can pass on any wisdom at all of how I did it, then that'd be great. So yeah, also I'll be taking questions at the end. So if you do have any, just about anything I've talked about, then please do let me know at the end. But I just thought I would kind of take you on the J word, the journey of how I got to where I am now. So I guess the time where I thought I want to work in radio was the fateful day of the 26th of October 2011. I've actually pinpointed it. I'm that sad. Was when you can see that picture on the screen. That was when I went to see JLS at Signal One radio station in Stoke. If you didn't know JLS, they were like a massive boy band back in the day. They've actually come back now, and I'm very excited about it. And they were doing a radio tour for their Take a Chance on Me single. And I thought I'd go along with my friend Natasha next to me. We went with a massive banner saying "Marry Me Aston." That was actually a double-sided banner. There was "Marry Me Aston" on one side, and then I think "I Heart JLS" on the other. And it clicked in that moment. I was like, damn, people are like paid to go and meet celebrities, interview them about their life, and then that goes on the radio. And like when that clicked, I was like, oh my goodness, this is for me. This is like exactly what I want to be doing. So from there, I started writing for a showbiz news website called Twit Celeb Gossip. It is still in motion today, just on a smaller scale, I think. And I was still at school that time, so I had this bonkers idea of trying to set up a radio station at my school because I was just that desperate just to get a little bit of experience. Long story short, it didn't work because nobody else really had that same passion as me around school about of radio. But you know, I went around and did a few boxes in my school and just did a few interviews. It didn't really get that far, but by the time I was about 14, I managed to actually get in with a local community radio station called Nova FM. That's based in Newport in Shropshire. So I did a couple of shifts with them, but I don't think really my work experience really got going until I went to uni, because, well, between the ages of 16 and 17 actually, because I did a bit of work at This Is the Cats FM in Crewe. That was the radio station that was based at my college. So I did a little bit of work with them. But when I got to uni was where it really kind of ramped up a little bit. So I managed to get some work experience with Gem 106. They are the Bauer owned radio station in Nottingham. So I did a couple of weeks in my second year of uni, and I also did a few months in my third year as well. So there I was like doing a bit of reporting. I was going out on location, getting stories. I was interviewing people over the phone like every single week. It was so much fun. And also during my journalism degree, I did some work experience at BBC Radio 2 at the Jeremy Vine show, which was just like as crazy as you'd think it is, to be honest. Like every single day in Wogan House in London with Jeremy Vine, who's this really big journalist here in the UK, just walking past you like all the time. I was quite starstruck. I just spent that whole week just being overwhelmed. And yeah, so I did a bit of radio then. I was also a part of the student radio station as well, so that was more the programming side. I had my own show. I produced and presented my own show every week for a couple of years. And I was terrible at it. I really was. I was really not confident at all, but I just gave it a go because nobody listens anyway. So it was just a good way to just learn the trade really and just kind of see what worked and see what doesn't. So last year, that brings us up to 2020. I graduated uni. I did a broadcast journalism degree. I don't think I've mentioned that yet. And there was a bit of a lull because obviously the pandemic hit. Like all of the job websites were just null. There was nothing there. It was really quite terrifying at the time. But August came around and I saw that a new radio station near me called Gorgeous FM was going to be setting up. And it's an LGBT radio station, so it really resonated with me because I identify as queer. And I just thought this is a great opportunity just to meet people from my area, because I didn't have many friends in my area at the time either who were like-minded, like radio. So I just thought I'll give it a go and see what happens. And I managed to bag myself a show called the Women in Music Show. mainly just because I love women in music. I just thought if I can spend 2 hours on the radio talking about my favourite female artists and maybe interviewing some, I don't know, for a couple of hours each week, that'd be so cool. And it turned out to be like even bigger than I thought. I managed to really interview some really great people like Gabrielle. I interviewed Faye Tozer, Michelle Visage, who else? Dodie, Orla Gartland, Emma Blackery, just name dropping all of them, sorry. But yeah, it really was a fantastic experience. I loved it so much. The only downside to it was that it was unpaid. But yeah, it just gave me that confidence I needed in presenting and producing. And I basically took it as like a full-time unpaid job for about 8 months. So 8 months, about 6 to 8 months. All whilst I was still on universal credit, just because it was just something to do whilst I was job hunting. But March, April came around, and I applied for a job at Radio News Hub as a broadcast journalist. Unfortunately, they didn't offer me like a full-time staff position straight away. They were like, you haven't got enough experience, I'm afraid. I was like, where have I heard that before? All the time. But luckily, they gave me some freelance work instead. So every weekend, pretty much from March to April, I was doing their forward planning shifts, which I'll go into a little bit on the next slide, exactly what that entailed. So yeah, I was basically writing news bulletins. And then it came to just May now gone. Everything's kind of started to snowball a little bit. And I got some shifts at Reach PLC. They are a company that own quite a few big tabloids in the UK and also a lot of regional websites. So if you live in a place and there's a website which says like your county and then live after it, it's probably owned by Reach PLC. So like Nottinghamshire Live, Gloucestershire Live, Devon Live, all these lives all around the country. Also Liverpool Echo in my London as well, they own. So at the moment I'm making social media videos for them, and I've been doing that all today. It's been really fun because lots of royal news. And yeah, so up to present day, in a couple of weeks, I feel like I've come full circle because I started by going to see JLS at Signal One, which is a Bauer-owned radio station. And in a couple of weeks, I will do my first shift for Bauer Media, my first paid shift for Bauer Media. So that's kind of where we are now, which is kind of crazy. How many years? Like 10 years. It's 10 years. Wow, that's made me feel old. So yeah, that's how I've been up to now. So what I do right now, I just thought I'd give you an insight about what my jobs entail, because you might not realise they exist. So at Radio News Hub, my job title is a broadcast journalist, but within that, at the moment, what I've been doing, if you don't know what Radio News Hub, by the way, is, should probably explain that. They are a company that basically make radio bulletins for over 300 radio stations around the world. So these radio stations are typically community stations, hospital radio stations, small commercials, and they will pay Radio News Hub to make them their news bulletins, which I didn't even realise was a thing. But so we do like international bulletin, a national bulletin, quite a few like universal bulletins that will apply to all 300, and then some stations will pay extra for a bespoke bulletin. So for example, Silk and D Radio, they're East Cheshire and West Cheshire. They will pay extra for like news from their area to be read out by a newsreader like me. So in that job, I am writing all the bespoke bulletins for the next day, and it's called forward planning. So on my shifts, I just spend the whole day just writing about, I don't know, 10, 15 bulletins. And as part of that also, I'm finding stories of my own, I'm interviewing people for those stories, and I'm writing copy for those stories, editing clips from interviews that I'm doing, and then those bits of copy and those stories will be used in like the next day's bulletin. So it's a little bit of a behind the scenes job where you're not really like news reading just yet, but you're still having quite an instrumental part of the team, because without you, then the newsreaders wouldn't have anything to read. But this Saturday, it is going to change a little bit because I'm going to be doing the news reading role, which means that I have that little bit more responsibility. A little bit terrified of it, and that's hence why I've moved to Leeds, because the offices are here in Leeds. So that's Radio News Hub. Reach PLC. Basically what I do is the separate teams from all of the regional websites will email me and my team to ask for a video on a certain story. And we will make them that video, and then we will send the video back to that team wherever they are in the country, and then that team will put that video on their Facebook. So that's basically what I do there. And also there's part of it where I look at stories that have been doing really well around the country. What would make a good social video? Then I make it and I send them to it. I send it to them, and it will be on Facebook maybe even the same day. So I've been making a lot of videos about the Royals for Gloucestershire Live, because there's a lot of royal stories that do really well in Gloucestershire. Also, My London today, I've been covering the Diana statue that was unveiled, so that I've been making videos about that for My London. And just a lot of great videos I made. I find Liverpool Echo are particularly good because the Liverpool population, the Scouse population, really love to comment on a video. They're all really great opinionated people, and I love it because it keeps me in a job. It keeps me with videos to make. So yeah, that is what I do with them. They're a great team at Reach PLC. And then I can't really talk much about Bauer Media and what I do at Bauer Media because I haven't done it yet, but I will soon be joining Bauer Media as a broadcast journalist, freelance. I've got a few shifts at Links FM and Free Radio West Midlands as well coming up. So yeah, that is kind of what I do there. I really wanted to cover freelancing in this talk because essentially I'm a freelancer, so I feel like I should probably tell you guys what it entails, but also because you never actually get taught about this at uni, or at least I didn't. I'd literally there was nothing in my uni degree about what freelancing was, about what the etiquette is, how you get work, how it all works. There's just nothing. So hopefully I can relay what I've learned onto you guys. So freelancing basically is you can work for whoever and whenever you like. You get to choose your shifts. You have separate employers at different places. So obviously mine are Bauer, Radio News Hub, and Reach. And you have to be quite motivated to do it. You have to have quite good time management skills. But essentially it's really, really fun because you're not tied to anywhere, and you can pick who you want to work for and what days off you have and what days you want to work. But there is a lot of kind of responsibility that comes with it, because in a staff role you'll have you'll have a 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, or 37.5 hours a week, and they'll be your contracted hours, and then you might be guaranteed the weekend off because it'll just be Monday to Friday. But with freelancing, that completely goes out the window. You literally just have to sort out your own calendar and your own working life. And I've made the mistake this month of only giving myself 4 days off in the entire month. Please don't do that. Give yourself some time off. So yeah, freelancing is fun, but also I think it can be famine or feast. And at the moment it is feast, but it's quite over the level of good feast. It's a bit mad at the moment for me, but that's beside the point. So I thought I'd give you a few pros and things to think about if you are thinking of going into freelancing, because I really would recommend it. It's a great way to get in an organisation. So the pros, you have to have good organisation skills, and it can really increase those skills as well. And if you've got a great work ethic, it can be for you as well. It requires good contacts, and you can also get good contacts. That's kind of the pro out of it. The freedom of it, you get to decide when and where you work, and also where and when you don't work as well. And you get experience at different places as well and see what suits you. So for example, my two different jobs are in radio and social media, and I can see how those work and see what I prefer, which I really like. And I wouldn't have that if I had a full-time role somewhere else, you know. And on the whole, I think this is just purely down to my experience. I have not had as many kind of scary application processes or job interviews, because if all of my experience has been with getting a job, a freelance job, I've literally just had a casual chat with the boss before I started. I haven't had any scary job interviews like, tell me about a time when you did this, or tell me a little bit about yourself, and all those scary job interview questions that I just don't like. I haven't had to do that, and I'm still in a job, which is quite nice. So that is a big pro, at least for me. I guess there's some of the things to think about before you kind of dive into freelancing. One of the things is you have to be quite financially aware. You have to know, well, I don't know how to sort my own taxes out yet because I haven't done it, but you do have to think about the fact that you're going to have to save a little bit of money each month for your taxes at the end of the year. That's if you're doing it in the UK. Not sure how it works elsewhere. With that, your income can be quite unstable. It varies very much from month to month. So you do have to factor that in as well. If you have to pay rent, or you've got like big sums of money that have to come out per month, you need to be thinking, can I afford that? And the lack of security is something that can make me quite anxious, to be honest, as a freelancer, because at the moment I'm fully booked up until the end of August, but I have no idea what I'm going to be doing from September onwards. So I'm having to forward plan to think like, right, which employers can I approach in Leeds to try and get me some work from September onwards. Also, something you can experience as well as a freelancer, especially if there are full-time members of staff within the team that you're freelancing, is that you might not feel as much of a sense of being as part of the team because you're not there 9 to 5, 5 days a week like the rest are. So that is something that you may need to factor in as well. You also need to know, unlike me, how to stop and rest. You need to be quite strict with yourself and look at your calendar and be like, right, which days in my calendar can I factor in and be like, no, I'm going to have that day off. And that can be quite difficult for me, who absolutely, I adore my job, but also don't want to burn out. And yeah, I've already covered that. It requires good time management. So yeah, that's just something to think about if you're freelancing. But on the whole, I just love freelancing. It's great. But before I freelanced, I worked for free for, let's say, I started doing free work when I was about 14, and I stopped doing free work when I was 22. So on and off for about 8 years, I worked for free. Or to pay me 21. For about 7-8 years, I worked for free in this industry. And personally, I think I probably worked for free for a little bit too long. So I've created this slide on the T on working for free. You have to know when to stop and when to value your work and yourself. If you're someone at the moment who's doing a ton of free work and you're volunteering everywhere, that's great because it can get you in somewhere. It can get you that really great experience and networking and all those skills that come with working for free. I think it's a great thing, but has got to be a line. There is a balance in this. Like, you've got to know when to stop. And I came to that decision about January 2020, but I didn't actually stop working for free until March this year because the pandemic just put a hold on everything. And I've kind of got a bit of a story to tell you about this. In January 2020, I'd been freelancing at Gem 106 for, not freelancing, I've been volunteering at Gem 106 in Nottingham for 4 months, once a week, every Thursday. I'd go down to Gem and I'd sit in the office for a day and I'd do all of the jobs that all of the other journalists didn't want to do, basically. And it's such a great atmosphere there. I really do recommend it if you ever get the chance to do work experience at Gem. But there did come a time where I was like, all the people on the desk just behind me, sat behind me, were just as good as me, and I knew I could do the job just as good as them. And I'd learned everything I needed to learn at Gem. And that point in me, I was chatting to my mate about it, and she was like, yeah, Lydia, you probably shouldn't be working for free anymore, because essentially they could be making a mug of you, basically, because they're getting free work out of you that they could be paying someone for. So I was terrified about having this conversation, but I knew I had to have this conversation with my boss and tell him how I felt. So I pulled the boss into the office, and I was like, look, I really do love it here. I love working with you guys, but is there any chance of any paid positions here? Because I'm now doing my dissertation and I need something to make it worthwhile. And unfortunately, he didn't have any paid positions there at the time because the budget was just so tight. But he was really happy that I asked, and he was really proud of me for asking. It was such a lovely conversation. He was like, I'm glad that you have asked me this because it shows that you valued yourself. And this was coming from my boss, who probably like was happy that they were not paying someone for it, but they were like, yeah, I'm happy that you've asked, and unfortunately, if it means that you can't work here anymore, then that's okay. We've had a lovely time having you in the office once a week, and we wish you all the best. But that work experience, even though it didn't lead to any paid work at the time, it has led to paid work now, because in 2 weeks I'm starting at Bauer as a paid member of staff. So I think it can be really terrifying having that conversation of knowing when to stop, and get paid for your work. But it is worth it. It is worth it. I just hope other people have that conversation and it goes well, like it did for me. So yeah, your boss will probably appreciate you for having that conversation. What was next? Oh yes. So another thing I learned when I was kind of job hunting in the early days, was that I saw all around me loads of people from my course. They were just applying for so many jobs, or at least I thought they were. People on Twitter as well. Like, I was reading on social media, people applying for jobs, and it just got in my head. I was like, I have to apply for jobs. I have to apply for all of these jobs, even jobs I didn't even want. I was applying for, and I really wish I hadn't had done that as much. And I just stuck with my passion, and passion was radio. So I it's a hard balance, because I'd always say to people, you have to go with your passion. You have to go with what you really want to do, because you can't apply for a job in telly if you don't actually want to work in telly, because it'll come to interview and they'll be like, so why do you want to work in telly? And then you'll be like, and then you'll have to make something up on the spot. Definitely didn't happen to me. So yeah, I'd always say, just go with your passion. You don't have to apply for every single job you see. Just apply for the ones that make you excited. You've got to really be passionate about what you're applying for, because I think the employer will see right through you. Even though they didn't see right through me on that job that I just referenced. But yeah, but also it is a balance, because you don't want to pigeonhole yourself, and by pigeonholing I mean just like tunnel vision. Because if I look at all these skills here on the right hand side, what I learned at university and what I learned through work experience, there's so many jobs that I could apply for through those skills. I have so many skills that I can offer to an employer and get paid for. And as soon as I switched my thinking to that, I was like, actually, maybe it's not just radio that I want to go into. Maybe I can have a go at something else, still enjoy it, but it not be like a thing that I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And that was my thinking behind doing my Reach PLC job. It was in social media. It wasn't exactly what I wanted to go into, but it's for a massive company, and I thought, I'll give this a go, and I've got all the skills that they want, so why not? And actually it has turned out to be something I've really enjoyed. So yeah, I hope you understand. I hope I've explained myself well there. That you don't need to pigeon yourself into one particular job that you want. It's good to apply for a range of different jobs, but also don't apply for absolutely everything, because I think the quality of your applications will probably suffer as a result. Another tip I have for how to get paid work in the radio industry / just any journalism sector is networking. And I'm sure you'll have heard a lot of people say the same, how important networking is. And it can be quite scary, because rejection is a thing and you might not get the answer you want. But basically, the worst they can say is no. That's all I have in my mind whenever I reach out to someone. The worst they can say is no, or maybe they'll ignore you. And it's not the end of the world if they do. I wanted to give you a few examples of when I've networked and it's worked and it's given me a leg up. So back in January, you'll see this tweet on the left. I had just made my first one-page CV. I had a two-page CV and it was terrible, so I had to put it down to one page. And I just thought I'd put a thing on Twitter, just being like, "Hi guys, can anyone have a look at my CV? Give me some feedback on it. It'd be great." And from that, a guy called Dan came back to me in my DMs. He works for TBI Media. He produces the Laura Whitmore show on BBC Five Live. And from that, he basically said, "Look, we'll go on Zoom together. We'll go through your CV. We'll talk about job hunting." And that was 6 months ago, and we're still mates now. I've just been chatting to him today, actually. And he's just been so helpful. He's tried to get me in at TBI, the company he works for. It hasn't quite worked just yet, but I believe in myself, it will work. But yeah, he's been so good. We have catch-ups every now and again on Zoom just to check in on how everything's going. And he's also a freelancer as well, so he's given me quite a lot of help with how everything works as well. Also in April, when I was just finishing the Women in Music show on Gorgeous FM, I really wanted to get some paid work. I was kind of like, come on, got to get paid now. So I put out this tweet saying, if anyone wants to commission me to write about and interview women in music, then please slide into my DMs. I've got fabulous contacts. I can do this. Let me know. And from that, a guy called Andrew, who I now work with, DM'd me. We actually went to uni together, and he works for Reach PLC, and he was like, "Hi, we're hiring at the moment for a social media journalist. Do you want me to put you forward?" And from that, I got my job now at Reach PLC. So it really does show, if you just be a little bit bold, put something on Twitter, and maybe you'll get someone back being like, "Yeah, we're actually hiring." But obviously you do need the contacts there in place. So one thing I'll talk about a little bit later is just building your contacts on Twitter, because Twitter's brilliant. And yeah, as you can see on the right hand side there, I also put my CV on that tweet in the middle. So putting your CV on Twitter, I think I really recommend it. You don't have to put your like email address and your mobile phone number on there. You can blank that out. But yeah, it just like it's there, and you can like give it to employers, and it's right in their face. And maybe you'll never know. Like there might be an employer scrolling their Twitter timeline. They might see that and be like, "Oh, maybe I can give her some feedback on her CV, or maybe there's something going." And it could lead to something paid. And I can't believe it did for me, but yeah, it might work for you as well. I was told by Alice at PressPad that you guys like quotes, and I couldn't really think of any quotes, but I just thought I'd add this in at this moment in time. That's my dad. He's called Patrick, and one of his favourite quotes is, "There's always another car parking space," and I like to relate that to rejection, because if you're going through a car park and you're driving through a car park and there's a car in front of you and they go into the car parking space that was previously like empty, and you're like, "Oh damn, they've gone in a car parking space," my dad will be like, "Don't worry, there's always another car parking space. We'll be able to park up soon." And I like to kind of relate that to my career. If I get a rejection, or something doesn't work out the way I wanted it to, there is always another car parking space. There's always another job. So if you have that in the back of your mind, I hope your life will be better like it was for me. So yeah, I don't know how long I've been talking for. Oh, I think we're on time. I just want to kind of finish with just giving you a few tips on what you can do practically right now to get your foot in the door. First thing, I guess, is get on Twitter. Make an account if you haven't already. Follow a lot of journalists, whoever you want to follow, people in radio, whether it's in the programming side or the journalistic side. Just follow people and get to know what they do, and slide into their DMs. Ask them about what they do. Start that conversation off. And I guarantee someone like will be happy to talk to you. I think on the whole, people are very happy to help each other in this industry, because they were always someone back, God knows when, that they needed that help as well. So they're generally quite happy to help. So yeah, find someone who's doing what you want to do and ask them about what they're doing, and how they got into it. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback either. So as I showed you, I have my CV on Twitter, I have my CV on LinkedIn as well, and don't be afraid just to give that to people and just be like, what do you think of my CV? And ask for feedback like that. In terms of something you can do when you're applying for a job, I really recommend calling up the newsroom or the office of where you are applying. I did this for my Radio News Hub job, and it really impressed them, and I think it was the thing that got me the job, basically. Just showing that interest in what you're applying for and showing that interest in the company. Not really, you don't have to know everything about the company, but ringing up and having a chat about said company or about how it all works, that can really put you in good stead. It just shows that you're interested, it shows initiative. And if you're going for a journalist role, chances are you're going to have to get on the phone for them roles, so it shows that you actually have the balls to get on the phone and talk to someone who you haven't talked to before. It can show really good skills like that. Linktree as well. I love Linktree. It's basically my get out card of not making a website, because I'm terrified of making a website, basically. Just don't want to make one. I'm so scared. But what I can make is a Linktree. They are free to make. They are really super easy. It's basically just a list of links that you can make, and it's like a mini website almost. So if you just Google Linktree, it'll come up, and you can make one, and you can show all your work on your Linktree. A Linktree is really good for showing your portfolio, what you've done so far. And when I went for the Reach PLC job, the boss was like, yeah, this is like one of the best Linktrees you've ever seen. And I think that probably what got me the job was having that good portfolio of work. I'm not going to talk too much about CVs, but what I will say is just make it one page, really tighten it down to one page. You can use things like InDesign, I think. I used Canva for mine, Canva. It was really simple, easy. It was free to do. But I believe PressPad are going to do a session on CVs in a few weeks / months' time, so I'm not going to ruin it for them. And yeah, as I said before, you don't need to apply for everything. If you see loads of journalism jobs, you don't need to apply for every single one. Just focus on ones you are truly passionate about, truly excited by, because then your passion will come through in your application. Yeah, don't be one of those people who says, like, I've applied for 50 jobs this week, because chances are you might not get much back from them, because the quality of the application will be less than someone who's maybe applied for a few jobs, but they've put like that little bit of something in it. And I guess with free work, if you are going to do free work, you've got to really think about whether the opportunity is right for you. What are you going to get out of it versus what are they going to get out of you? So always have that balance in mind. I'll give you an example for this one, just super quick before we finish. I was approached by BBC Radio Nottingham a few months ago to do a little feature on the Nottinghamshire Women's Show that Hayley Compton presents every Sunday. And I did have to think about, because that was a time where I was applying for proper freelance paid jobs. And the moment she said, we can't pay you, I'm afraid, I was just like, okay, so what am I going to get out of this opportunity of being on the radio once every 6 weeks to what are they going to get out of me, which is a bit of content on the radio? How can I get something out of that? So you have to be prepared to kind of negotiate a little bit, but just have that conversation. Like, Hayley is now, she's repaying me in the form of giving me contacts, and she's giving me help to get a leg up, and she's looking over BBC applications that I'm doing. So I am getting something out of it in that way. But yeah, always have that in mind of whether the opportunity you're going for is right for you, and if you're going to get enough out of it to if it's worth your time, basically. But if it's not worth your time, then don't be afraid to say no either. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. I hope I haven't spoken too quickly, or I hope I've explained myself well. Those are my contact details if you would like to follow me or connect with me or whatever you do these days. Um, I hope you've enjoyed my little presentation. Um, I want to leave you with my favourite musician, because I did a stint of women in music journalism for a good 8 months. So my favourite musician is Christine and the Queens. She's French. She's awesome. This was me and her in 2018 when we could hug. Remember that? We could hug. And one of her lyrics from her song $5 is, "I'm eager and unashamed." And if I could leave you with anything, it is to be eager and unashamed about this industry. Be eager to apply for jobs, be eager to slide into people's DMs, and just be unashamed of your eagerness, of your excitement for this industry, because it is something to be proud of. It's a really great industry to be a part of. So yeah, that was me. Thanks.
Thank you
I see
so
you got
much,
some
Lydia.
chat.
Absolutely wonderful talk. I was
Oh,
taking notes
thanks.
as well, and I put them on Twitter. So if you guys want to have a look, my favorite part is your dad's quote, I must say, and this slide as well. You said you're not very one for quotes, but actually, they're probably the best two quotes of the season so far. So
Oh my gosh,
really
I'm honoured.
good. If you go to the next slide,
Okay.
it's going to
Oh
be
yeah.
that's a placeholder for questions. Um, just to give you a couple of minutes to send questions my way. We've got about 15 minutes left of the talk, so we'll be just talking about questions. First question for you, Lydia. Um, what are the things that you've done to get yourself ready for speaking on the radio? Because this can be very daunting, especially if you don't have any experiences and you don't know where to start.
Oh my gosh, what do I do to get ready to speak on the radio? Well, for my Women in Music show, it was a very journalistic show, so I'd be looking at news items throughout the week, what's happened in the world of women in music that I can talk about, and then I'd be making notes from those news stories. Sometimes I'd script it word for word, but sometimes I wouldn't. I think it'd depend on the story. Like if the story's got some quite nitty gritty details about it, and it needed to be like legally sound, and it needed to be legally like really need to be accurate to the dot, then I would script it. But yeah, that's what I'd kind of do. Like, it's just a lot of research that goes into it. In terms of just like doing it without having much experience behind you, I think you've kind of got to just do it. Like, it's really hard to say how to do it. You just got to do it and not be afraid of making mistakes, because ultimately that's how you learn. I was so bad at radio presenting as a student. I was so
Were
bad,
you?
so bad. So, but you improve as you learn, as you do more of it. So I think it was as soon as you realize that, then you'll kind of get better.
So did you train on like try it out with your flatmates or with your family, your friends before you were on air, or how did you prepare for your
No,
first time?
I didn't. I didn't like. I don't think I did any like practice with my family and friends. Like I remember the first time I ever. I think the first time I ever properly went on air was This Is the Cat Radio in Crew,
Mhm.
and I just went in to the studio. I sat in on the other guy's show, and I just sat in the studio, and he just started talking to me. And then we realized, oh God, I'm on air. So you just have to go with it and just treat it
Sort
like
of forget you're on air
you have
and
to forget you're on
just
air and
talk.
just talk to the human like you would normally. So yeah, you kind of have to go for it. As long as you don't swear, you don't say anything like terrible against Ofcom, then you'll be fine.
I guess we've got a whole generation trained in doing that with Zoom and virtual meetings. It's sort of basically a virtual meeting with people we don't know. So I guess that's sort of that. Um, Another question would be how did you go around picking the first volunteering opportunity that you got? You talked a bit about that, but we got a question about where do you start?
Where do
So
you start when like finding a
mm.
voluntary opportunity? Um, I guess Google is your friend with that. Um, yeah, I think just Googling and just seeing what's around. You'll be surprised how many community radio stations there are. There's so many community radio stations, and you just have to look at what's around and maybe like contact them and see if you can go and have a
Yeah.
look around whichever ones that interest you. Um, and yeah, I think I got quite lucky with Gorgeous because they were like a station that really aligned with my values with diversity and representation and LGBTQ plus. That I really enjoyed that one, but obviously there were ones before that. Um, so yeah, I guess just finding them out through social media and through Google, just and see where it takes you. Because you're not like aligned to, you're not kind of committed to any of them, so you don't have to go with
No,
the first one you
that's true.
see. Um,
And it's also voluntary, so really, what's the worst that could happen?
yeah,
Yeah. Um, when you were talking about the news reading and writing that you've been doing for over 300 radios at the same time within one job, which I think is quite mind blowing.
yeah.
Could you tell us a bit more about this type of work that we don't necessarily know about?
Okay.
Any other like hidden gems that are out there and that you can
Oh,
reveal today for
oh
our
gosh.
eyes only and ears only?
I guess like there are a lot of jobs in social media. In radio, there's a lot of jobs in social media but also in radio, so you might not think about it, but kind of like the jobs like the social media video journalist, I think at the BBC they call it a social media producer.
Okay.
That is a job where you make videos for the radio station based on what they have put on air,
Okay.
and that is a way that a lot of people get in, because they like to hire, I know the BBC at least, like to hire young people for those jobs because they know young people will be quite savvy on
Yeah.
social media. So yeah, that's a job that I didn't realise really existed until a few months ago. Um, yeah, and just I think it's really important not to have tunnel vision in terms of the company that you work for either. I think uh, my university, I think did really skew you towards the BBC, the ITV, maybe the Sky route. They were really quite focused on like, you need to get a job at one of the big places, otherwise you're not successful. Like that was something that went around my brain
Yeah,
quite a lot.
where actually you don't have to. Like there's so many more
Yeah,
jobs
there's so many
in
jobs.
that you don't know about because you don't look for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so true. So
and
so true.
like radio production companies as well, like the BBC outsource a lot of programs to different production companies, and you can be looking on those production companies websites to see if there's any jobs going, or if they're taking on freelancers. That's something I didn't realize was a thing until probably about third year of uni. I didn't realize that there were production companies. I didn't realize that the BBC don't actually make all of their content. They do outsource it to different like companies. So
Is
yeah,
there
I definitely recommend that.
is there a job board or job boards that are specialized in that type of work? You think? How did you go around? Did you go try and find? Because it can be quite difficult to find the production companies when
Mm.
you look through from experience. It's not always quite clear.
Mm.
So how did you go around finding that? Googling and trying to be like super meticulous, like you basically launched an investigation into how many production companies you were interested in and just went until you found the number of companies you were happy with, or is that what you
Mm.
did?
Yeah, basically, I used Radio Today a lot. Radio Today is
Mhm.
like a company, a website that just shares the news of the radio industry, and it has a jobs page, and I use that quite a lot to look at jobs because they don't
Mhm.
just put the really big corps on there; they put the little indie companies on there as well. That's how I found the Radio News Hub job. It was through
Mm,
Radio Today. So I recommend Radio Today. Um,
perfect, thank you.
yeah, and they have
Is
a
there any
Twitter
other?
as well, I think.
Sorry.
They have a Twitter as well,
Yes.
Radio Today, where they put stuff on. There's also the Media Mentor on Twitter.
Oh yes, of course. Yes.
They put lots of like jobs on,
Yeah, we
whether
love them.
it's great. The PressPad put stuff on as well,
We
or
do in our newsletter
cool.
and in our Facebook group. So do join.
I
Sign up
will.
to our newsletter and our Facebook group.
Yeah.
We look out for any entry level jobs. So we don't we don't put out anything that we don't think people with a couple of years of experience would struggle to get, and we only put paid jobs as well, so that you know that when you look at what we do, you will be paid if you get through. So yeah, that's a good point. Thank you very much. Just on that, actually, you were mentioning about the CVs. So we actually already have, we've got CV clinics that we run every week, thanks to our wonderful volunteers. And so we're going to be putting out more dates available for the next few months. They're usually Mondays and Friday afternoons. So do check out our social media, because we will be putting out some more. Is there anything else you wanted to mention, Lydia? Or because I just checking if we've got any more questions, but I don't think we do.
No,
we don't have more questions unless someone wants to add any in here. If so, please feel free to do so now. If not, we're just going to move to the next slide, if you're okay with that, Lydia.
Or shall I?
Yeah, just click.
Is it gonna work?
Because otherwise I can't see the comments. No, the other way.
You press it, it's not working. Hang on. Let's show it. There we go. That one.
Yay, okay.
Yay.
Great.
Oh, Femi. I know Femi. I work with Femi.
So we've got a commissioning workshop actually that will probably be really helpful to anyone who's looking into getting a pitch out to any commissioning editor. So the system is pretty simple. You register on our Eventbrite, and then we give you a link to send your pitch to us. And then we select 3 pitches to be basically recrafted with a commissioning editor. So that then you get an actual really good chance of getting commissioned. And sometimes it's a pitch that is about the magazine or the news organization that the commissioning editor is from, but it could be very different, and they'll just give an honest opinion of your pitch and help you make it better. So don't forget to, if you are interested, we are closing commission, we're closing the survey and the call out on Thursday, so Friday, tomorrow. So please do send and register before then. And we will Masterclass next week with Femi. We'll give you more details on the tickets. Will be available from Tuesday at latest. And then every Wednesday we have an Instagram Q&A. You can register on Eventbrite if you want to get a reminder, which is why we put it out there. But you can literally just go on our Instagram and press the live button to join and ask questions. It's really nice, chilled out conversation, and it's our community manager next week, Laura, who's going to take over. And then we also run speed networking sessions, which is obviously essential to everything, as Lydia just explained in her masterclass. So if you want to meet some other like-minded people, doesn't have to be about you. If you don't think you've got anything to give, you probably will have something to give and advice to give to people anyway. We just do it within, depending on the number of people, it's between 5 and 15 minutes with someone, and then you just talk to them, and then we move you to someone else, and you'll talk to 3 people in total in this hour. So it's really good chance to meet people and to make new connections. So thank you very much. I think that's all from us. Lydia, is there anything else you wanted to say before we close?
No, it's just like thanks for having me. I feel all important. I've just checked my Twitter and I have about 20 notifications, so I'm
sorry about that.
It's a bit mad. But yeah, just if anyone wants to get in touch with me, like please message me on Twitter. Please follow me.
You can't miss her. I've literally tagged her on every single tweet.
Yeah.
So just go ahead.
Please get in touch with me. Like I want to help as much as I can. I'm a very busy human right now, but I will help as much as I can, whether that's giving contacts or giving tips or just passing people on to the right person to talk to.
That's very kind.
I will do whatever I can.
Thank you very much, Lydia. And have a good evening. Enjoy the rest of your dinner, and good luck with your new job.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.